Listeners, I want to begin this episode with an exercise. So, if you can, close your eyes, but if it's not safe, stare ahead or come back to this exercise later. But if you can do it, I want you to think about one experience you had in the past week. It could be something related to your writing life or anything else, but just get that firmly in your mind. And then I want you to focus on your hand. And I want you to allow your hand to represent that experience for you. I want you to notice, does your hand stay open? Does it close? Does it close so tight you have a fist? I'm asking you to do this because I want this to serve as a metaphor for what we are going to talk about today, and that is the experience of flow. Because if your hand was open, it is possible that when you had that experience, you were experiencing the delicious, spacious experience of flow that we all crave. And if you weren't, I've got you covered. Because in this Editor's Roundtable episode with Sarah Chauncey and Lynn Shattuck, we are going to explore what flow is, what to do if you're having a closed fist experience, and how you can increase your experience of flow even when times are tough. Let's dive in. Welcome to Writing Resilience, the podcast for writers who want to write and live the story that sets them free. I'm your host, Lisa Cooper Ellison, a writer, transformational and trauma-informed coach, story alchemist, and fellow traveler on the winding road of healing and creativity. Each week, I'll share tools, practices, and conversations that will help you let go of what no longer serves you as you create stories that change lives, especially your own. Together, we'll explore how to trust your creative voice, support your mental health and resilience, work with your nervous system and unique design, and stay connected to your deepest calling as a writer, even when life gets messy. It's time, my friends, to write and live the story that sets you free. I'm honored to walk that journey alongside you, one story and one episode at a time. Well, hello, everyone. I am here today with Lynn Shattuck and Sarah Chauncey for an editor's roundtable where we are going to talk about an issue that is really near and dear to my heart, definitely to Sarah's heart, because she has lots to say about it. And I know Lynn as well. But it's at the heart of what we do as writers, and that is getting into flow. But in order for us to talk about this and some of the laws around it, I want to first ask both Lynn and Sarah about experiences of constriction, because part of the way that we know something is by knowing its opposite. So, Lynn, what has been constricting your writing practice?
Yeah, I had a week or so ago, I had a work situation where that was very deadline based and very time consuming. And so I had no, like all of a sudden, whatever margin I was kind of used to having in my days was gone. And I felt like in the Star Wars, the scene where the walls are closing in the
Mm-hmm.
crash room or whatever. um, and, what I noticed about that is like because it was deadline based, then my nervous system was activated. And that, it's just like I was getting further and further away from flow. And it did not feel good. It was not conducive to creativity.
Definitely not. Gosh, have I been there? Yeah, I know that experience. Well, what about you, Sarah? What's something that has created constriction in your writing life?
I moved to a new city about a year ago, and I am someone who really needs quiet. And I'm living next door to basically a strip mall being constructed with two residential towers, and they've been doing foundation work. And it is loud and it's distracting and activating. So that's been a real challenge for me in how to do my work while that's happening.
I am feeling your pain. I have lived next to construction in the past. And I think one of the hardest things about living near construction isn't just the noise, but the randomness of it, right? Just when you think that the noise is done,
Ah, exactly. Yeah.
well, thank you for sharing these aspects of constriction that you felt. Mine is going to feel very familiar as well. And that is the stories I've been telling myself about my writing. So I have this piece that I've been working on, and it's really funny because the pressure has been coming from two ends. So it's a little like your experience, Lynn, with that trash compactor. On the one hand, there's been a piece of me that's like, does this even matter? Is this any good? Is this,
Mm,
is it even meaningful? Does it belong in the book? Right? Does it belong in the book? And so I've had all of these doubts. And when I feel doubt, my creativity is like, if this was a video game and there was a life, that life force is going like, "Brrr." And then on the other hand, I have these pieces in my book that feel channeled. Like, not that I didn't have to do any editing, I did, but they came out pretty good. And so it feels like there's this bar of what good is, and I'm afraid I'm going to mess it up. So I have these two opposing sets of feelings and thoughts and stories that I've been wrestling with. And then, of course, what happens for me is then I can't really write. So that is one of the reasons why I'm so excited about what we're going to do today. And so, Sarah, tell us about the law of increasing flow. What is it? What do we need to know? Give us the lowdown.
okay. So this is something that I developed after like 20 years. Well, 20 years ago, I went through severe burnout. And I
Mm,
noticed I was in a very prestigious writing job. And I noticed that the more effort I put in, the worse the results. The harder I tried, the fewer words came out. They were terrible. And I just eventually kind of gave up. And then I spent the next 5 years wondering, like, what would it be like to have a law of increasing flow, because what I was describing is diminishing returns, so this would be the opposite of it. And I came down to three core elements. The first is getting grounded or becoming present before we sit down, before we put the butt in chair. The second is taking strategic breaks before we begin to bonk, just working in small bursts. And the third is not pushing through, but stopping when there's still something in the tank. When you start to feel yourself slow down, or the word that starts to feel like you're pulling teeth,
mm,
then that's time to take a break and refill your tank. This way, you're always kind of creating. There's a phrase, serving from your saucer, which means don't let yourself get depleted. This is creating from your saucer.
mm.
What do you guys think about that?
Oh, I love that image at the end, creating from your saucer. That's just, it's so beautiful. And it's what a nice visual, because I can say for myself that pushing can be something that can be a real challenge for me. What about you, Lynn?
Yeah, similarly, it's funny because I feel like we live in a culture that pushes productivity and pushes pushing, and so it's like it's kind of a breath of fresh air to hear someone talking about stopping before before you hit the wall. It feels novel and it feels kind, like it's
Mm-hmm.
gentle and kind. Yeah.
Can I add something, Lisa? Which
Yeah,
I'm just
absolutely.
diving
Because
in.
I was getting ready to ask you a question about it, but you go ahead.
So, historically, before the Industrial Revolution, walking and being in nature was the foundation for writers. Now, granted, that was also a lot of privileged writers,
Mm-hmm.
but the whole idea of being a productive writer. I mean, yes, it matters if you're a professional copywriter or if you have a series that you have to get on, but it's just, I kind of question the need for productivity in the industrial sense when it comes to creativity. What do you think, Lisa?
Yeah, no, I think that's a huge issue. And I even think about, this is post industrial revolution, but not now. In Andre Dubus III's memoir, Townie, he describes his father's routine, which to me feels just delightful. It really did feel delightful. He would get up in the morning and he would write for 3 hours, and then he would go for a run, and then he would teach in the afternoon, right? And so he had this really nice rhythm and this expansiveness. Even the way it's described in the book is this expansiveness around his art. And I don't think we necessarily feel that today, or I will say that it doesn't feel common. I have to work towards that in a way that maybe I didn't have to do when I was younger.
And this is what I've been practicing for 15 years, so I am happy to help you. By the way, Murakami, I'm blanking on his first name, and Maya Angelou both did similar things. Murakami speaks about running as his
Mhm.
rhythm for creative flow. Maya Angelou used to go to a hotel room and write for 4 hours, and then she'd just spend the afternoon doing life things and letting ideas percolate.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so it sounds like part of stopping while you still have gas in the tank is setting some boundaries around the work and allowing for some of the work to be percolation. Does that sound correct, Sarah?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, I would say the majority of the work is percolation and learning to pay attention with our observing circuits to what is coming up, because our subconscious works so much faster than our conscious minds. And
Mhm.
so, to me, and this is something I've experienced for almost 20 years now, into what we call intuition, which a lot of people dismiss as woo woo, it's actually logic of the subconscious. The
Mhm.
subconscious takes all our research, all our memories, it's recorded everything we've ever experienced, and it just goes whoop. And so being present to allow that is the key.
Mhm.
Did that answer your question? I
Yeah,
just went
no.
off on.
No, I think that's really important is, and I actually did an episode recently on intuition where I talked about that intuition is not quote unquote woo woo. There's actually science around it and it's not magical. It's the fact that our minds and our bodies will take in information much faster than the conscious mind can process. And so it does that and it integrates with what's already there, like what we've learned, what our experiences are, and it can offer us this snap decision, which is informed, right? And I think that's one of the things that can happen with intuition is that we think it's not informed because it happens so quickly, but that is false.
Mhm.
It's another false construct of kind of this whole post-industrial era of like, well, if it takes time, then it must be good. If it takes time and effort, but if it's too easy, then it can't be.
Mhm.
Lynn, what do you think? Does this
I'm
resonate with you?
Yeah, I'm thinking about how to be in touch with that subconscious space, we have to have like time and quiet. And we live in a really noisy world. I'm just thinking about like I have to consciously make myself do something like go for a walk without listening to a podcast, which sounds simple enough, but can make me really, really squirmy in actuality. But that's the only, if I don't do that, I'm not making space to touch base with that part of me that can bring up information that's really helpful to my writing life. So yeah.
Well, that makes me think about something that we were talking about before I hit the record button is that issue of technology, right? And distraction. Because if intuition requires the quiet and us stepping back, right, to be able to listen within, distraction is antithetical to that. So, what are you doing? I'll ask you, Lynn, first, and then you, Sarah, to deal with distraction and especially tech distraction.
Mhm. I'm not probably doing as much as I'd like to. It's more of an issue than I'd like it to be. I have this silly merge game that I just spend hours doing, and it's like, what am I doing with my
Merge
precious?
Mansion?
It's not that one, but it's similar. Merge, star merge. Um, don't get it, anybody. I do not recommend. But it's like, what am I doing with my precious time here on Earth? And yet at the same time, I feel like there has to be some time where we can just kind of like zone out that maybe in the past would have just been watching TV or something. So yeah, I don't have a great answer. But just practicing like small moments, like sitting in a waiting room and not immediately pulling out my phone, just like
Mhm.
notice those urges and occasionally stifle them. What about you, Sarah?
I I mean, I'm not the best. Like I think people think I might be totally zen and never on tech, and that's not the case since I'm an editor and I work on a computer. Um, I for the past at least 10 years, I keep my phone on do not disturb and on silent. I have no notifications. I have if there are emergency people who I want to be able to talk to, I have them on what iOS calls emergency bypass, which is on a case by case basis. I don't have a TV. I haven't had one for a while. That's not to say I don't watch streaming,
Mhm.
but I've found that by watching on my phone, it's not entirely in my face. Like
Mm,
these huge screens, just you get sucked in, and it helps me see that there is space around the
mm,
pit, for example. And the other one is when I'm out walking in the forest, tech becomes irrelevant. The forest itself makes me so present and brings me into presence that I just, yeah, um, I don't know how, I, I really think that's probably true for everyone once they get used to it.
mhm.
But I mean, I was hooked on Merge Mansion for a year.
I feel
So I get it. And I do. I check texts. I'm a big texting person, but not having notifications was like game changer.
Mm,
Yeah, I love that you turned off your notifications. I've done that on almost everything. I have not figured it out for Substack, and somehow I have to figure out how to keep my phone from doing that. It's not that I don't even pay attention to them, but it's like a ding, which
Yes.
is bad for your brain. But I definitely agree with what you're saying, Sarah, about the importance of going outside without tech. Um, I am, I think I've even committed to being a bad Instagrammer, right? I really don't want to curate my life. That's a conscious decision. I do not want to curate my life. And so when the most important things happen, I actually put my phone away. And so, an example, I was at the Walk for Peace. And so I watched the monks go by. And I had this fleeting moment of like, oh, I could take a video. And I'm like, no, they're taking videos and their videos are good. And also, to be fully present with the monks, I cannot be looking through my phone. And so I put it away. And so I don't have a video of it. There is actually a video right before us. Like I could see the dog that they were hanging out with, which was really cool because I know what it is. But yeah, so shutting things off is so important. And I think leaving your phone at home is sometimes the easiest way to do that, or putting it on airplane mode. Not to
Yeah.
do conspiracy theory about things, but I sometimes wonder if the phone being on Wi-Fi does tap into something in the brain because I personally know a difference when my phone is on airplane mode. There is something about it, it does not call to me in the same way. I don't know. Listeners, if you know more about tech than we do and you have an insight on this, or you have some sort of article you want us to read, please feel free to share that. But for now, just know that airplane mode might be better.
That's a great idea. I have not tried that. I wanted to say I do take my phone with me because my
Mm.
transit app is on there. My credit cards are on there,
Mhm.
but I feel no pull towards it. If I'm standing in the middle, when my mind can feel awe, whatever that is, even if it's a
Mm.
YouTube video of nature, I mean, that's ironic, isn't it? A YouTube video of nature, but I feel no desire to pull out my phone. So that's my other thing.
No, I love that. And I think awe is a really important emotion and experience that writers need to have, right? Anyone. It's awe is for everyone, right? And I'm like pro awe, like 100% team awe. Let's have it as often as we can. And what I can say for myself is that awe often comes from a place of peace
yeah.
versus happiness. And so, Sarah, I'm wondering
Yes.
if there's something that you want to say about the difference between peace and happiness and which one you choose. And then I'll ask Lynn the same question.
I always choose peace.
Mm.
And probably 2010, I heard a line by Eckhart Tolle that has stuck with me, which is happiness requires on conditions being perceived as positive, but
Hmm.
inner peace does not. And when I heard that, I didn't have enough money to live. I was bartering for food with a coffee shop. Like I was below survival mode. And today I'm not thrilled there's construction outside. But it's not, I mean, sometimes the vibrations disturb my peace,
Hmm.
but it's a practice. Everything for me is a practice because if I'm not resisting the isness, as Buddhists say, then I can feel peace no matter what. I have a lot of stress, but I can still feel peace with that,
Hmm.
sort of. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. Lynn, I'm wondering if something in that resonates with you.
Definitely. Yeah, I would also choose peace. Happiness seems pretty fleeting and like fluttery. And kind of the same as sadness too, right? Like those are things that we just sometimes feel. And I would rather be in a place of peace, which I guess has something to do with some sort of faith, just
Hmm.
like trusting that things are going to be okay, whatever that means.
Can I add a little thing about
Please.
presence?
Yeah.
Because for me, I mean, I spent 10 years focused on bringing myself into just this moment.
Mm,
And I have found that with that practice, as long as I am committed to just this split second, not even 5 minutes, peace is there in the background. It's not something
mhm.
we have to pull out. We have to let go of
Yes.
what isn't peace.
Yeah. Well said.
I need to remember that.
All the things
As
that
I
we
just,
say out loud that we have to remember.
well, that's why they call it a practice, right? Not a
Right,
perfection.
exactly. Yeah, practice, not perfection. And I think for myself, yeah, it's something that I have to come back to. And one of the ways that I get to peace is recognizing when I'm not peaceful,
Mhm.
and then knowing that I can make a conscious decision. And one of the ways that I make a conscious decision is to accept life on life's terms,
Mm,
right? I
Yeah.
accept what is now. And a mantra that I use is let everything that needs to go, go. Let everything that needs to come, come. I will just say that. I will also, at the beginning of the day or in meditations before a podcast episode, do what Bhikkhu Panakara invited everyone to do during the Walk for Peace, which is take a few breaths, put your hands on your heart, pay attention to your heart, and then simply say out loud, today is my very peaceful day. Simply saying those words is committing to a decision, right? I'm committing to being peaceful. And I can be peaceful and also upset or uncomfortable or anything else. I just have to accept that that is my reality.
mhm.
It's putting space when I feel negative emotion, putting space around it, just visualizing that this exists as part of something larger and it
Mm.
will pass like everything passes.
Hmm.
And as the saying goes, it might pass like a kidney stone, but it will
Yeah.
pass.
Oh, those kidney stone experiences. We all have them. Well, what about you, Lynn? Is there a practice that you use to help you be in peace, even when life is tough or it's giving you something you don't want?
Yeah, I think in terms of just like if my nervous system is super activated and I'm just feeling really panicky, the breathing practice where you do a longer exhale than an inhale, and I think there's something like you're blowing out a candle where you kind of purse
Hmm.
your lips. That has been miraculous. I found like just on a physiological level that will settle me and take me out of fight or flight most of the time.
I love that you shared that because there is something about pursing your lips and blowing out. It actually connects to the vagus nerve,
Yeah.
and the vagus nerve is connected to our fight or flight system. So, yeah, your body is super wise. It knows.
And it's also pressing the lower abdomen.
Mm,
That's an essential part. For
Hmm.
me, I had COVID last summer, and ever since I've been in sympathetic dominance,
mm,
and I cannot get my body into parasympathetic.
Mm.
So it's a real exercise in how do I
mm.
be present and calm when my body, my amygdala is on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what's your go-to? Like when that's happening, what is your go-to practice?
Feeling my body from the
Mm.
inside, feeling
Mm.
my hands, feeling my feet on the earth, closing my eyes, taking deep breaths, but just feeling the energy in my body
Mm.
and allowing it to be as it is.
Mm.
What a beautiful
Sometimes,
practice.
sometimes I scream to let out the extra. I'm a big fan of like screaming when you need to scream.
I am also a fan of that. I also love screaming for joy. And I
Ah,
had some friends when I was in graduate school. Man, we would have so much fun together. I'm telling you. Like we would have this group of 3. That's what I'm talking about. We would have fun because I used to go into a car after this graduate school class, and I had this friend. I'm like, "Would you like to scream together?" She's like, "Yeah, let's scream." So we were on a college campus, and we're like, "Ah!" as loud as we can. We did it like 3, 4 times. We start laughing. It was the best. It's the best. I
that
do it at my house.
in I had a grad school experience with 2 classmates where we threw plates against a wall, and that was like the best thing. Yeah. So grad school, yeah,
Yeah, grad school teaches you all of the good things
all
about
kinds of things.
throwing things, about
Frustration,
frustration.
rejection,
Oh my God, rejection. Like how to blow off projects. I mean, so many things that graduate school is good for. I mean,
creative excuse making.
oh my God, just so much. Well, I want to get back to that exercise you just shared about going inside because I want to talk about something that you wrote, which is that novels grow in the dark. And that is so juicy for me. Can you share what you mean by that and talk about some of the practices that you have for accessing that space of the subconscious where this work happens?
So first, I wish it were my quote. It's J.D. Salinger's quote.
Ah.
So someone far more revered than me, but I found it to be true. And part of it for me is so I slowed down my life a lot, and I s- I realize there's privilege because I'm single and I don't have kids,
Mhm.
but I schedule. I create my schedule based on energy, not based on available time.
Mhm.
And that is a big part of creating that space. Meditation is huge. In order to notice the things that are coming up, we have to learn to observe our thoughts and to question our thoughts and to really interact with our thoughts as other than us. And so
Mhm.
many people identify, especially writers, we identify with our ideas.
Mhm.
And so also dream work is great because things will come up as we're dreaming, meditating. And I think, you know, it can be scary for people who think, oh God, I don't want to go into that space. But it's it's like when I turned to face it, it was just like a paper tiger. It's like I thought these
Mhm.
were dragons. This big space had a dragon, but inside it was just full of all these insight and even joy and guidance, and it just made my life so much easier. So I just encourage developing that self-awareness, which may include, therapy and healing from trauma, because yes, certainly if you have not had the opportunity to heal, that can be very scary.
That makes total sense to me, and I love that you're talking about the work we do in therapy because eh, I think that something that happens for a lot of people when they come from an invalidating environment or they've had a lot of trauma is that we divorce ourselves from our senses and we divorce ourselves from our own experience, especially if we grew up in an environment where we're told, like, what we perceive as reality is not reality. Like, that
Yeah.
didn't happen. You're over dramatizing, or all of the different things people will say. We separate ourselves from what's happening, and when we do that, we are separating ourselves from our intuition. And so unpacking those experiences, dealing with the stuck emotions that we have inside ourselves is so important. Another thing that I will do is, I do a lot of work with human design, which, therapy is one way to operate and work through these
Right.
things. And I'm 100% for that. But the opposite is like looking at how are we really designed and where do our strengths lie? And so trusting that we have these amazing capacities to see the signs around us or to allow for divine timing is really important. And so one of the ways that I'm practicing this right now is I talked about at the beginning of this episode the fact that my constriction is that I'm worried that I can't make this chapter as good as some of these other chapters, and also I don't know what's happening with this. Like, is it too dark? And so I just started asking questions. I didn't ask questions for the sake of getting an answer. I just asked. So a question I asked was, is there an aspect of this that could be funnier? And I just asked the question, and then I went for a walk. And actually, I did a bunch of like yin yoga. I also did that. Yin yoga helps a lot for me.
Yeah.
And then I'm not expecting an answer. I'm not fretting about an answer. I'm just allowing that to roll around. And what I found is that when I just let it roll around and did something else, answers came.
Yeah.
And so I was able to get into the darkness.
Yes. This is why, like, we need that look away time and that percolation time. And walking is my key practice. But anything, so there's a line around, I'm going to mangle it, but where water flows, memories follow, something like that, or
Yeah.
ideas follow. I had a client once who kept a whiteboard in her shower, which is a little too much for me, but that's it. Great ideas don't happen when we're sitting at the keyboard going, okay, I need to fix this.
Mm-hmm.
And asking questions is like, as we learn to dialogue with our inner self and our higher self, asking questions, those answers will just pop up, which is the other reason I keep my phone when I walk, because I have 10,000 notes on my iPhone.
I keep my phone near my shower. And though I have to say, like your friend that has the whiteboard in the shower, let me just say that if my husband would allow, I would have one. And also, one of my listeners sent me some waterproof notepads.
Wow.
So I actually have
Wow.
waterproof notepads. Amazing listener. I am just so grateful for that.
Awesome.
But
Yeah.
so that person, we are simpatico. Well, this has been an amazing conversation, and I have just absolutely loved being with the two of you and talking about flow and how this is working in our lives and how it's not always working in our lives. Because I think that's the most important thing for you to hear, listeners, if, depending on if you're a writer or anything else, and you're like, well, how come I'm not in flow? How come I can't make this happen? Like, why is this hard for me? Well, it's hard for all of us, right? And it's just about practicing and showing up. If each of you had one takeaway, one thing you would want that listener who is wondering how to do this to know, what is that one thing? I'll start with you, Sarah.
I credit this to Eckhart Tolle, although I've really taken this to a whole new level, which is get the inside right before you take action. No matter what it is you're doing, if you're resisting what you're doing, it's not going to go well.
I love that. Get the inside right. What about you, Lynn?
Kind of similarly, I think realizing that like having a settled nervous system, being in flow, and like nurturing myself and taking care of myself are kind of they all work together in my benefit, which is not the way that I was trained to think growing up.
Looking at our conditioning, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that sounds like possibly the next episode that we do. I'm seeing an episode forming right now. So I love that you shared that. And I'll just say that for me, if I had one takeaway, it's that let the practice be enough. Right? Things will unfold when they are supposed to unfold. I know that takes tremendous trust. I know how hard that can be, especially if it feels like the stakes are high and you're like, oh my gosh, I just need or want this to happen. But just keep showing up. One breath, one moment at a time, and allow that to be enough, because that is how we get anywhere. Well, thank you both for being on the podcast. It has been just so much fun and an absolute joy to be with you, and I look forward to next time.
Thanks so much, Lisa.
Thank you. It was super fun.
Thank you so much for listening. If you would like to learn more about Sarah and Lynn, please see the show notes for this episode. And if you'd like to take this topic a little deeper, grab your notebook and journal about what distracts you or what keeps you from being present. Once you have your answer, I want you to come up with one new thing that you could do to be more present in your life based on this episode. You can make my day by sharing your strategy in the YouTube comments, or you can also share any questions you have about this topic. Bonus points if you also subscribe to this channel, because likes, subscribes, and comments are how we spread the word about this show. It's also one more way that we can stay connected, and I would love to stay connected with you, and I would love to hear from you. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. I couldn't do this podcast without your support. If you love this episode, here are 3 simple ways that you can keep this show thriving. 1, subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. 2, leave a 5-star review so others can find the show. 3, join my engaged dynamic community by signing up for the Writing Your Resilience newsletter. As a thank you, you'll receive a free copy of Ditch Your Inner Critic, 5 tools to transform self-doubt into self-support. Until next time, remember that your story matters. As you write and connect with the truest, most authentic version, you become not just the writer, but the person you're meant to be. And that, my friends, is the real freedom writing can offer.